Hi everybody, welcome back to Esoteric Ramblings. I'm Jesse Arnold, and today I'm going to be giving you my comic haul rundown for January 6th, the first Wednesday of 2021. Hey everybody, it's been a couple weeks. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching. I know I haven't updated anything for a while. It's been a crazy couple weeks with Christmas and New Year's and work and different things. So that said, this video is going up a week late, but I want to have my comic hauls for every Wednesday this year. I want to get all 52 up. That's a goal for the channel, to get all 52 weeks of comics up this year. So yeah, we'll get started. So I don't remember, I didn't keep them out of the boxes because I try to file everything right away. So I apologize if there's some glare on the bags. I don't feel like unbagging everything. So here's a kind of abridged rundown for January 6th comics. As usual, I'll run down alphabetically, do a couple of favorite covers or something that sticks out in that regard, and then my top 3 for the week. So we'll just jump right into it. This is going to be a pretty quick one. Amazing Spider-Man 56, bringing the conclusion, or telling the conclusion storyline of the Last Remains story, which I largely enjoyed part of it. It feels like the story has been really dragging out over the last 2 years, and it's still dragging out. It's still good. I feel like I would probably have enjoyed this series much more in graphic novel form or collected edition form. That said, it's still good. If you love Spider-Man, tons of good stuff in here for you. I'm starting to lose interest in this series, because part of the reason I got back into reading the Spider-Man was because it was supposed to be the reunion of him and MJ, and I really like that dynamic. So that said, it's a good issue, it's a good series. I'm just starting to lose interest in it. Does not mean it's not a good series. And notice I need to do a little beard maintenance. It's getting a little extra bushy, I guess because I'm wearing a mask all the time. I don't think about it. So alright, next up, crossover number 3. This series has been really fun so far, seeing superheroes and comic book related things crossing over, hence the title, into the real world of this series, and it's been a lot of fun. A lot of little teases and Easter eggs for all those who are immersed in nerd culture, geek culture. There's lots of stuff in here. Or if you just want a good story, I think you can read this without needing to understand those references. So that's a really great series. Enjoying that so far. Marvel likes to produce comics and content related to other things they're doing. And at this point in time, we should have already had the release of the movie The Eternals. But because it's been delayed and everything, the comic also was delayed. But this first issue of The Eternals from Kieran Gillen, Esad Ribic, and the rest of the creative team, Matthew Wilson on the cover here, has been a stellar kickoff to the series. They are not a team or group of characters I'm overall familiar with, so I thought I'd just take a chance and try it out. And for not knowing anything about them, it kept my interest. Again, Ribic's artwork is definitely a huge drawing point, and Kieran Gillen as a storyteller is fantastic. So the creative side of this book is very strong, and I am really intrigued by the story to see where it goes. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, Eternals number 1 is definitely worth checking out if you haven't already, as this video is a week late. The 6th also showed the debut of the beginning of DC's Future State, which I believe is kind of a retrofitted version of the 5G plans they had last year. So for the next 2 months or so, all of DC's books, or most of DC's books, are going to be, their mainline title books are going to be focused on this Future State, which is post the events of Dark Knight's Death Metal, which, thank goodness that is finally over. I apologize to any of you out there who really like that. It was just so chaotic through that whole death metal, the whole thing just for me was a little bit chaotic and not... I don't want to be negative about it. It wasn't for me. If you're enjoying that or enjoyed those books, I'm really happy for you and glad you did. But I'm glad that we're moving on from that, and Future State is kind of the the wake, if you will, of the passage of that death metal ship through the waters of DC. So before I just keep rambling on, Harley Quinn #1, set slightly in the future, or I'm not even sure if these are all the exact same timelines or what's going on in all of these, but this was a fun book where it's not just her usual clown self out doing her mischief and mayhem. It's an interesting hook into the story, I think, and I'm also intrigued to see where that goes. The conclusion of Juggernaut in issue #5 here. This series, this miniseries was a lot of fun. Again, I've said every time I've had this issue or this series up, a lot of fun getting into a character I'm not super well versed in, other than he's just a force of destruction. So it's cool to see more of a character-driven story for him, for a change. Okay. I'm not reading this because of the tie-in to the event it's a part of, but Return of the Valkyries, with this gorgeous Phil Noto artwork on the cover, is a great, I guess it's kind of the epilogue, if you will, to the Jane Foster Valkyrie series. So if you like the Jane Foster series, or just like the Valkyries in general, this is a cool story to pick up. I believe it's a 3 or 4 issue miniseries, maybe 5, tying into the King in Black story, which I'm not super interested in, but Return of the Valkyries is definitely something that has my attention. I want to see the end of that Jane Foster story as the Valkyrie, or at least the next chapter of it. Next up for Future State in DC is Wonder Woman #1. Now this is the new Wonder Woman in this storyline. I believe her name is Yara Flor. And this was a delightful story. Really enjoyed this issue. Joelle Jones writing and doing the art, with Jordi Belair, I believe, on colors. So yeah, Wonder Woman #1 is a really fun new version of Wonder Woman for DC. Really enjoyed that. And last in the main rundown here is X Factor #6, picking up where the previous issue left off, investigating the death of Siren. It's fun seeing X Factor back to the investigative role they had in the era I wasn't reading them. So it's fun knowing that they were there doing that sort of thing, but now they're just doing straight up investigation into why mutants are dying. And it's been a really fun series. Fun, not fun in a way where I enjoy reading about heroes dying, but the way they're investigating is fun. And as you know, on Christmas Day, or December 25th, Warner Brothers and HBO released in tandem on HBO Max and in the theaters Wonder Woman 84. So there's been a whole slew of Wonder Woman 84 variants that were, again, supposed to come out much earlier last year. But here's one of 2 that I got last week that I have to show. I think I have some other ones, but they're already filed away. This is the J. Scott Campbell. So they're all obviously referencing that very fun rainbow aesthetic that they did for the 84 poster. The only one I think that really isn't is the Frank Cho one, which again, I just really love his pencil and line work, and it's just really fun image of Wonder Woman there. All right, now my top 3 for January 6th, 2021, week 1 of this year. My top 3, going 3, 2, 1, are Transformers #26. In the story arc titled War World, the Decepticons have risen and taken over. And again, if you've watched the Netflix series, the new series, I don't know if it's meant to be a direct tie-in to that, because some of the behaviors and characters don't match up, which is fine. It's been a really great series seeing what the Transformers' lives were like before all of this stuff happened, and seeing the result of the devastation of the uprising and all of that. Obviously, this one hit a little close to home last week for those of us in the United States, not necessarily this issue, but the content of the storyline. But I'm not getting into all of that here and now. But yeah, Transformers 26, great issue. Another new number 1 was Star Wars The High Republic, a large initiative from Lucasfilm and Disney and Marvel. They're doing books. I've got the hardcover here somewhere of the first Light of the Jedi. So this first series, this first arc, or first issue of this new series has been a lot of fun. You follow a young Padawan as she is out on a test with her master, and then some other things start happening. And I'm only a couple chapters into the novel, and it feels like some of the events happening in this issue and maybe the next couple issues are happening in a different, or at the same time as early events in that book. So it's really cool. So if you like your crossovers, synergy of your stories, this kind of has a Shadows of the Empire vibe as far as the crossover aspect of it between the game, the book, the comics from back in the 90s. This is really cool. I love exploring, because I never read any of the Old Republic books or the comics and different things from back in the day with Star Wars. I kind of avoided the comics at the time, and at a certain point I stopped reading the books when I read an interview or something where if George Lucas didn't include them in the movies, they didn't count. And at that time, the prequels were not even a blip on the radar yet, so I just kind of gave up reading, which I know is my own stupidity because there's a lot of great books out there. In a way, I'm blessed in that regard because I don't have all the baggage of the expanded universe weighing on me for all the different things that are different. I did read the Thrawn trilogy, the original Thrawn trilogy, and some other books that were post Return of the Jedi. So there's some of that in there, but I like how that stuff's being handled differently now. Regardless, High Republic is a great new #1. I'm going to do a whole video about Star Wars at some point in the future. But this is a great new issue. Great art, great story. Can't see what happens and get to know these characters a little bit more. And last up, my #1 for the week is, again, I psyched you out earlier, tried to, Wonder Woman #1. I just really enjoyed this issue. It was playful and funny, action-packed. I'm really intrigued to get to know this character more, and hopefully when Future State is over, it won't be the end of her. And Joelle Jones, again, has become one of my favorite artists and writers in comics, from stuff she worked on with Jamie S. Rich in 12 Reasons Why I Love Her, and You Have Killed Me, and her whole run on Lady Killer, and Catwoman, and different things. I'm just really enjoying Joelle Jones' work and creativity, and it's a really great book. It's a lot of fun, so check this out, Future State #1, on shelves in your local comic shop. And again, if you're local to Central Pennsylvania and you've never been, please come check out the shop I work at. Not because I work there, but it's a cool shop, and if you like comics, you will probably enjoy it. It's a Comics Connection in Mechanicsburg and York, Pennsylvania. So that's it. That's my ramble for this week. I'm going to get this uploaded and then get week 2 of 2021 uploaded. So stay tuned for #2.